Where's our theme song?
Hey everybody, it's Wednesday. Grab your goat, grab a drink, grab a blanket, grab your popcorn. It is time for the Witches Movie Coven. Yep, witches talking about witches. And there was a little hint there of what we're going to talk about today. I am Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts. We are here with Richard-Lael Lillard, Courtney Buckley. Jason Mankey is in and out because he's lost in the woods somewhere. Heather Greene, special guest Dodie Graham McKay, and you. I'm going to turn. We did lose Richard. He's lost in the woods. Witches. Talking about you, we get lost in the woods. Hi everybody. We do want you guys talking in the chat room because we're looking and we'll post some. So we are going to do WandaVision today. I can't explain it, so I'm going to let Richard-Lael.
So, yes, you know what? It's funny because it is Disney and it is Marvel. And anyone who knows me, those are two things that I don't know very much about. However, notwithstanding my own personal knowledge on the subject, I will say that I watched the entire season of WandaVision, and they explained the parts that were missing from the movies that I obviously did not watch. The long and the short is that it starts off with a young witch and her robotic husband in the 1950s. They don't know how they got there. They don't know who they are. They don't know anything that has happened, but they're in this lovely 1950s town in New Jersey. And then things begin to change and things get strange for even the witch and her robot husband. And then color comes in and they find themselves in the 60s and then the 70s and the 80s, the 90s and the 2000s. And you find out through the course that, yes, she really is a witch. Yes, her husband really is this robotic, I don't know what he's called because, again, I don't follow it. But he is this robotic being that was killed by this Thanos. I didn't realize who that was, but it tells you in the movie. Thanos is this bad guy who kills people with like blinks and snaps of his finger and whatever. Anyway, so kills this guy. She brings him back to life. She has rescued him and brought him to this bubble that she has created. She wanted this perfect world, and she created this thought version of him. She didn't actually bring him back to life, but the memory was still there. And then, of course, trouble ensues. The government is trying to figure out why this thing is in the middle of New Jersey. She feels like she feels this instant humanity, and she has to break the bubble, allowing everyone to escape, and unfortunately allowing the U.S. government to get in. And then she must make the decision: do I save my family? Do I save the people of this town? And along the way, then, of course, the remade version of her dead husband, who's a real robot, comes in on the attack, but his mind melds with the original one. But you don't really know that. You don't really know that. Also, there's a twist. I'm not going to talk about that, but there's a twist. The end. Magic.
Well done. And the whole thing is a TV world, a sitcom. If it wasn't just 1950s, we were living in Dick Van Dyke and I Love Lucy and Bewitched. It was
Family Ties in the 80s.
Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
The Brady Bunch.
The Modern Family.
Modern Family. Yep. The Office.
The Office was my favorite one too. Yeah.
There was.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah. So that's WandaVision. If you guys are confused by that description or our description, I watched the whole series and I'm equally confused. I even watched a video explaining the whole thing and I'm still equally confused, but I see how clever it was.
The problem is that this was really wrapped up in the Marvel Universe movies. And if you have not seen the Marvel Universe movies, we keep getting we're like half faces. If you haven't seen the Marvel Universe story, you don't know why. You don't understand why Wanda is motivated to do what she did to recapture and create this town. When you go into it knowing, and I've watched every of the Marvel movies in order of, not in order of the time that they were released, in order of the time the story is told. So I did it in story order. I was on a mission to watch all of them, and I did it. This was a few years ago. So if you don't know who Thanos is, and you don't know why Vision died, and you don't know why the connection that Wanda has to Vision and all of that background, then this show is confusing, because you're like, who is she? Why did she do this? You don't understand this is really the depth of grief that Wanda has is what leads to this. So you have sympathy for Wanda throughout, knowing what she had just literally gone through. And then there's points in the show that are actually directly connected to what's going on in other movies. Like when they show the people coming back in the hospital, they're coming back from what Thanos did. And if you didn't know what Thanos did, you won't know what's going on when they have all the stuff all over them and all of a sudden appearing and people are crashing into each other. If you don't have that background.
I hadn't seen any of those movies, so I had no idea what that part was.
No. So in the end, Thanos snaps his fingers and half the universe disappears. And they disintegrate in those little stuff. And then when Vision dies in the end and they save the world, all of those people come back. So during that hospital scene, the people are coming back. They called it the blip. So that's connected. So everything is connected to those movies. And so if you haven't seen them, you're going to struggle with some of these oddities, because Marvel movies are brilliantly woven together as a story.
They are marvelous.
Yeah, they are. And there's tons of it. When we talk about these Easter eggs to the old television shows, there's also a lot of Easter eggs to the Marvel movies. I mean, you have Captain Marvel, you have the one, you have with the blue eyes, the girl at the end with the blue eyes. You know, you have all these Easter eggs that are connected, and the stories are connected to other movies. And so that's what fascinates me about the Marvel. I'm not a big superhero fan, but the way they tell their stories is really well done, and they're so woven together that it's fascinating. So that's why it's confusing, is because a lot of it was very dependent upon having seen the movies.
So I watched it. I have not seen a lot of other Marvel movies. I've seen some of them, and I could not avoid spoilers, so I knew the gist of what happened in Endgame. I knew about the snap and everything else. But even knowing that, it was really hard at first. Like, I was enjoying it, but I wasn't understanding it. And then luckily I was watching it with my 13-year-old son, who has seen more Marvel movies than me. So he was sitting there. I was sitting there being like, okay, like, this is all right. Like, I like the whole sitcom deal. Like, I got that pretty fast. But then he's sitting there going, oh my God, we have to watch the next episode. This is brilliant. Oh, I can't believe that they're doing this, and oh my God, and this thing and that thing and whatever. And I was just like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and we have a rule in my house, no spoilers. Like, you're not allowed to tell me any spoilers. I avoid them like the plague. And he was like, does this mean I get to tell you spoilers? And I was like, yeah, because I have to understand what's going on in this. So he was in all his glory. But then it was like, even without knowing really the whole story behind it, having not seen it and not had that connection with Wanda before watching this, I do feel like, as like a human, as a mother, you know, going through this with her, seeing her, you know, her backstory with all of her trauma and everything like that towards the end, you know, I was fine, and just like I was thinking of, you know, oh, I'm gonna have to wear my Heather shirt. Like, I didn't mind it, you know, the whole time. And then after the last episode, I texted one of our producers, Rob, and I was like, okay, not me ugly crying on the couch, because this is so like dramatic, and like my heart, my soul was like laid bare by the end. And it's, you know, you feel they did such a good job, even without knowing all of the things, making you feel that grief along with her. Like, my heart was so heavy. It took me, I had to like recuperate after watching it, because watching her put her kids to bed at the end, like
Aw.
lost it. Like I was a sniveling, snotting mess.
Because they were only thought forms, and they could not exist outside of her little bubble.
Yeah. But to her, they did. To her, that was her family in that
They were
moment.
real.
And
It was her family.
watching her make that choice and letting go of that grief and being ready to move on. And that was like, how many times have we all gone through that in one way or another? And it's impossible not to connect to that, whether you understood what was going on or not. So I think like it was really clever. I thought like the all of the sitcoms and all the things, and it was fun for me to watch and try to pick out what sitcom it was. And then in the end, when they started putting the pieces together and this thing meant that and this thing meant that, that was like, I was into it. I was on the edge of my seat at that point, whereas before I was just kind of going with the flow. And then by the end I was heartbroken, but in such a beautiful way. It was so moving. And then I have to talk about my favorite character, Agnes. And
there's the twist.
I love Agnes. I am obsessed with her, and I've heard that the second season is going to be about her, and I could not be more excited about it.
And they say that this is the way Marvel is introducing the occult into the universe. Whereas, in the beginning you have these mutant type superheroes, and then they use Guardians of the Galaxy to introduce space and outer space and galactic stuff. That's sort of how they use a story to introduce these other pieces. And so and then you kind of accept it, and it gets part of the Marvel universe. Agnes is the witch. She's the Salem witch that got she was going to be killed by her coven, not by marauding.
That's kind of more realistic.
More realistic, yes. And it was great. I love the way they used color in that scene, particularly because you see Agnes with purple glowing hands, and then you have the Red Witch with red glowing hands. But the ones in the Coven had blue glowing hands, and that's an indication of goodness in them. The Coven, I think there was 13 women standing around there, and they're shooting their blue power. That would be so cool if we could actually. Yeah. But the purple's pretty cool too. She has the purple, and all of a sudden everything turns purple, and that purple, the color is important in the visual. And being a filmmaker, you probably could speak to the use of color and how important that is to signal to the and that's how they were indicating bad, good.
And did you notice, by the way, speaking of bad and good, that when Agnes reveals who she truly is, that her fingertips are black?
I did notice that, and I thought of you.
I did not notice that.
Yes, which
of
course, as we know from previous things, it was believed that when your fingertips were black, that you had dealings with darkness.
Yeah.
And so
as our resident Salem expert, not really, but I have to speak to that scene.
You are.
Well, because so you guys know, and I've talked about this before, how annoyed I get when people use Salem in movies because they never do it right and it's always wrong. And then people come to Salem with these ideas of what Salem was like or what the history was, and it's always wrong. So I went through like my own 12 stages of grief watching this movie, because at first I was like, okay, she's a witch, because it was like bewitched a little bit, and okay, I get it. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, no, now this is superheroes and she's not a witch. And then all of a sudden, here we are, 1693 Salem, and I'm like, here we go. It's gonna be terrible. I'm already mad because it's 1693 and not 1692. And then she's gathered around and she's gonna be burned, it looks like. And I'm like, here we go again. Where were the witches burned? Europe, not Salem. And then all of a sudden, when they say that they're her coven, I was like, done. Like, I'm so excited. This is so different. This is not real. Like, this is not, they're not trying to be real, but just changing a little bit. And it was the very first time watching a movie that I was not upset about the Salem scene. Like, I was really not upset about it because they did it so differently that I could get behind it. And I did not feel like I was going to be, bombarded with weird questions on tour.
So you don't think that people are going to show up at Salem now and want to take your tours and look for witches killing their other witches with blue?
Nope.
in Purple Hand?
I don't, but I do think if they had tried to burn her at the stake, I would have got a lot of things like, I saw in WandaVision that they burned witches at the stake. When I tried to say, excuse me, no witches were burned in Salem, they say, but in WandaVision. So how far away from the truth was WandaVision? That's what we get a lot. So now I love it. It's far enough away that there's nothing that can even remotely be Salem related other than the name, and that's the way I like it.
I think it's important to note that having her getting burned or hung or whatever it was going to be, and being killed by a bunch of female witches in a coven circle is very much a now thing. It's not, because if this had been done 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, it would have not been. It would have been probably townspeople or something like that, and not good witches. Which, again, we keep talking about this in a lot of the movies that we look at now are showing that there's two sides to witchcraft, or many sides to witchcraft, that it isn't only there's not only bad witches. And so you have this here of these good witches. We assume good witches because they have blue light, and they are trying to get rid of this witch from the darkness, Agnes. And so we assume these are good witches. So we have good witches, and we see that even if it's a subtle piece, it's still there and it's still present, even if it's not explored further.
I also liked, on that topic, Heather, I liked the fact that, as you mentioned before, the blue, the purple, the red. And when Agnes tells Wanda that she's the Scarlet Witch that they had warned about, that they had preached about, this witch who just existed with no training, and she just happened to have existed, and that she had no choice, but she was going to be evil. I loved that sort of juxtaposition that Agnes already knew. Agnes knew that she was the Scarlet Witch, could be made one way or the other depending upon her circumstance. So Wanda really stands in the middle. She's not bad. She's not really good. The people in this town, they wouldn't like her. And what was it, Westview? They don't like her because they're trapped in this television show. And their own children are asleep in their beds, and they can't even talk to their own children because it doesn't fit Wanda's show. So they're painting her as this bad villain, and Agnes tells her, yeah, heroes don't hurt people. And that's where she comes in with this. She has to realize, I can either hold on to my fantasy, or I can stop hurting people. Mm-hmm. And I think it really struck me on a deep and emotional level, because I grew up I rather traumatized. I grew up in the Midwest, and my parents were terrific. I couldn't have asked for more kind, considerate parents, but it was the entire world around me that was so hard, where I was threatened when I went to school with violence. I was threatened when I went to church with casting the demons out. And I really didn't have any place. And I created in my own world. Now, those of you who know me, I created my world around a television show as well. The Addams Family, which is, of course, that's my number one thing that I love more than anything else in the world. And I created and patterned my life around that television show. And it's when I was a kid, and I especially got Wanda, because when I was a kid, it was my idea that if anybody were to come into my space and suddenly have amnesia, they wouldn't know when or where they were. Is this the 1880s? Is this the 1920s? Is this New York? Is this Los Angeles? Is this Berlin? Is this Paris? They wouldn't know. They would just be lost. And Patti, you've been to my house, and people would say it always feels like it's that perfect time of evening. It's always. No matter if it can be 10 a.m. in the morning, it can be 1 o'clock in the morning. It is still 6 o'clock at night. Always. It's always perfect time of day. So I understood how Wanda would take that trauma and try to build this perfect world, because television is perfect. That's what television is. There are writers and there are editors, and they can make you feel, and in and of itself, it is magic. They can make you feel things that you wouldn't normally feel. And for me, the Addams Family was the first ones that said that I could be different and it was okay. And so I live in that bubble. I still do, even as an adult. I live in that bubble.
Did you appreciate the Addams Family reference in the Agatha opening of her show? That was Addams Family.
Yes.
The Addams Family look and feel when they introduced, right when Agatha revealed being a witch. You remember that?
I do.
That was really cool.
That was a nice little nod. That was
yeah.
That was.
Well, it's either going to be that or Bewitched, and they chose that one. It made much more sense to do an Addams Family one there.
Well, and again, because Wanda was really playing Samantha, she was really bewitched.
Yeah.
And so it would make sense that the only other time in the 60s when witchcraft, it was either Samantha or it was Grandmama or it was Granny Frump or it was Morticia, or it was a little darker. It was a little bit more sinister, even though they were, it's they never do any killing on screen. That's sort of as an Addams Family.
Break for commercial. Yeah, well, I appreciated all that. I enjoyed every bit of it, even though I really didn't understand. I'm not a Marvel person, but I am a TV sitcom person. So I totally appreciated that. And I watched the entire thing beginning. And it was like, for me, not knowing the Marvel, every show was a completely different show. Every show was, yes, you had this continuing, but even Wanda changed as she's going through her ups and downs and the grief is taking over. It was like, okay, it's a new show on. I've never seen this show before. What are we going to do? But I like that. I like that a lot. And then at the end, it does start pulling together. Oh, okay. I still don't understand it, but I like it.
It is. It still is complicated. It's still very much woven into what the direction of where this giant Marvel universe story is going. And so we're getting into, again, the occult is coming into the universe, just like they brought in space, which when they brought in the space thing, I had a real big trouble with it. I'm like, what? This is getting really weird now. But I went with it. You just kind of roll with the story, and the way they interweave it is brilliant. And I actually have to go back to my son and say, remind me who's that, who did this. But the one thing that backstory with Wanda is that when they first find her, she is actually working for the bad guys, and I can picture their logo, but I can't think of the name right now. And someone, I'm sure in the chat, will put up the bad guy's name, and not Thanos, the organization. And so she was working for them with the brothers. So she winds up being problematic for them, and then she winds up causing an accident with a lot of problems for the Avengers. So that's how Vision, Hydra, there you go. See, you knew someone was going to be there with that. So then at another point, she causes this accident and then causes a lot of problems for the Avengers. So they wind up putting her in house arrest, and Vision watches her. And that's when their relationship starts to develop, and it sort of sticks through it for the rest of the movies. They have this relationship. And so, when I first saw the commercials for WandaVision, I'm like, oh, this is just going to be a cute little story about Wanda and Vision because they had a romance and he died in the movie and blah, blah, blah. And it's the kind of cute side thing that Disney was doing that I was like, nah, I'm not going to watch that. So I never went to watch it. But actually, they didn't just make a side thing. This is the bridge to the next chapter in the universe. It's the bridge to introducing the witch and the occult and some more darkness than Marvel usually has. I mean, you look at Captain America and you look at Spider-Man. These are not characters that are traditionally associated with darkness. the way Batman, for example, like, oh, I said Batman in a Marvel Universe discussion. How dare I? But I know that's very much not a thing you're supposed to do. But Marvel Universe doesn't really have the darkness with its and the complexity of its characters. Maybe a little bit with Hulk, but he's not really. This is the first time you're going to have that complexity that you're talking about, the chaos magic. Is she good or is she bad? Or maybe she's both. You know, the red light. I think it's going to be an interesting direction. So, and how they represent witchcraft going forward will be very interesting. Agnes Harkness.
And I
can't wait.
I love on the I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I haven't watched the series yet. I got the memo way too late. I'm just like photobombing Heather here right now. But, you know, I work in documentary film professionally, and that's where I'm really intrigued to watch this show. And I've been just fascinated hearing what you guys have to say, because, you know, as somebody who does documentary, I'm really interested in how accurately our witchcraft communities are portrayed in media. So what I'm really hearing is that there's some real relatable stuff to our witchcraft communities in this series. So now I got to watch it.
You do got to watch it.
I did love in this, speaking of being relatable, I loved the fact that the magic from Wanda just happened. And she says, but I'm not a witch. I'm not a witch. I'm not. Well, that bomb, it didn't explode because why? Well, it was defective. For 3 days, it was defective. And sometimes we are reasoned out of our own magic and out of our own witchcraft. Oh, well, that just happened because of chance. Oh, well, you know, maybe it was just a fluke. Maybe it was just something that I wanted, but it was going to happen anyway. But what I also love is that you can develop it depending upon your circumstances. If you have a natural, innate witchcraft in you, you can hone it. You can build it. Even if you don't know the technical terms, even if you haven't read all of the books, and even if you don't know what the runes mean, and even if you wander into a room that has runes all around it, and you don't know that you can't cast a spell there, you know, you learn these things as you go, and that's what Wanda does. When spoiler alert, when she has cast Agnes into the sky, and Agnes says, okay, now I want more of your power. I want more of your power. I want more of your power. And then she says, okay, cast a spell. But she can't, because the clouds reveal that now there are runes in the sky. And Wanda repeats what Agnes had taught her is, you can't cast a spell in somebody else's space if there are runes there to protect the original witch. So you can learn witchcraft. You can hone your skill, even someone who is naturally gifted.
Well, this is really interesting again to me, documentary hat on my head, is, you know, I was obsessed with Bewitched when I was a kid. I loved Samantha so much, but I can't say that she was really inspiring me to become a witch. She was inspiring me to watch television and be entertained by somebody who presented a very interesting form of witchcraft. But I'm fascinated to see this series now, because it sounds like there's something so much more relatable, so much more imminent and relevant to how we really live and how we really practice witchcraft. So, and that's totally what I'm hearing Richard-Lael say. Like, that's great.
Yeah, and having the good, and that's the important switch that we've seen over the last 15 years, is that there is good witches and bad witches and maybe witches, because you see it from 2010, 13 on to now, about the last 10 years, we're starting to see that moral complexity when it comes to a lot of things. We see bad characters becoming heroes, the anti-hero. We're seeing a lot of more complexity in understanding morality and ethics and the things we do in a lot of movies. There's a lot of that going on, specifically in witchcraft. So if you go back to Beautiful Creatures, the movie which one day we probably will talk about, there's that same discussion. Are you good or you bad? At the age of 16, will you go bad or will you go good? And eye color was the indicator. In the end, spoiler alert, of course, she's neither good nor bad. She's both. And so you see that in Sabrina, the series Sabrina. Also, you have no character is perfect. They're all making mistakes. They're all doing bad magic and good magic, and they go back and forth and back and forth. They even worship Satan, and it's completely normalized. You know, it's not necessarily bad. It's just their religion. So you're seeing this change happen, and here we have it again. The same discussion around magic, which I think is brilliant for witches, and just brilliant for society and discussions we
And
have around.
terrible for the evangelicals. I can hear them.
I think
that is quite true.
There's something else that I found really relatable, straying a little bit off the topic that we're on, but it really struck me. So I have PTSD, and I, in coming to terms with that over the course of my entire life, have done a lot of research about like how trauma works subconsciously and consciously. And I thought that it was brilliant. It resonated with me, whether this was their intention or not, but like this is what I took from it. When she's, you know, she's at home with her family when she's a little girl, and you know the bombs and stuff are going off outside, and the family's creating this nice little bubble for themselves inside, and it's going to be a happy family little night where they're going to watch TV. And then she gets to do her favorite thing and watch her favorite sitcom, that it's like this really special thing, and they put it on the TV, and then boom, and that's the moment that her trauma, or one version of her trauma, happens. That then this thought bubble that she creates is the sitcom. Like that was her, because when you are dealing with trauma and PTSD, it can be, a trigger can be something that's so insignificant, either significant or insignificant, but like it could be something as simple as when your trauma was happening, the painting on the wall had a sailboat in it, and so forevermore, for unknown reasons to you, seeing a sailboat can send you into a panic, or can, you know, or that's the thing that comforted you. So sailboats are a thing that comforts you in that moment of trauma. And it's those weird connections that your brain makes subconsciously that causes these things to happen. So when I saw that scene, to me, that's what it said. And it was like, it made all the sense in the world why she would pick a sitcom, because that's, you know, if she kept saying she didn't know why she had done it, or she didn't understand, and then watching her like fall to the ground and the grief come out of her, and like whatever, that's where it would go, because that's what made her feel safe. Like that was just so powerful to me, you know, from a human aspect. So that to me was really, really, really cool.
I'm going to answer Robert's question about getting back to this, you know, having to watch the Marvel movies. I think you don't have to watch the whole series if you just want to see what's going on with the Red Witch story. And so I'd have to go back and remember where she first appears, and she's difficult at first. So there's like 2 or 3 stories where she is sort of center, she's just sort of on the side, where she gets involved, and then you have to watch the one Endgame and the one right before Endgame. So I can look those up and see if I can find which ones those are to at least get a sense of who she is. This is the first time that they're there, appeared in. There's the movies that they were, yeah. And I think you have to watch Age of Ultron. I know that. I think that's the one where she's first introduced, where they change over. And so, yeah, if you could watch all of those, it looks like 4 of them. Probably not Doctor Strange, might not be necessary, but they never really focused on her and a ton. This is the first time we really get a good, deep sense of her in a better way, and I think that's coming. And the first time she's really called the witch, because in most of the movies you assume it's telekinesis, telepathy, some kind of, you know, the mutant type thing that you get with some superheroes. So you don't really see witchcraft until here. So that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that introduction. I did enjoy the Marvel movies. I do have to say, I'm not a big superhero person, but I did enjoy watching them in order because I love the story. It's just such a good storytelling. So if you're into storytelling, this is a continuation of it. They do a great job.
I watched, in this Marvel world, I did watch one of the movies recently, and I think it was something about Ant-Man and his wife.
Yeah.
and they were
Ant-Man and Wasp.
and they were shrunk down into the subatomic particle level, and there was I was so confused. But of course, again, I don't get into Marvel. I only happened to be there because I just wanted to go see a movie that day, and that was the only thing that was on. So I was really, really confused.
I'm gonna say something. I did start the doing the same thing that you did, Heather, watching them in like story order with my son like a couple years ago. We didn't get very far. He went further than I did. But I am no longer, after tonight, interested in watching any more Marvel movies. I only want Richard-Lael to watch the movies and then explain them to me. That's the only thing I'm
It's some witch and some.
That's all I want.
That's awesome.
So funny.
Well, I have to say is if you do it, don't do just get through the Hulk, and most of them are good. You just have to get through the Hulk, and I think Ant-Man and Wasp is also probably on the lower end of the spectrum. But they're not all great movies, but some of them are really good movies. But to watch them for the story, because it is this long, it's like reading a book, of a series book, and you just want to hear what's next. So I was really pleasantly surprised with this, because I didn't know this was continuation of the story that I had been following. So I'm like, okay, and now there's witchcraft, even better.
I think WandaVision is pretty standalone. It can be confusing if you don't know what's going on, but they do a lot of flashback scenes, which helped even me fill in kind of what was going on. I didn't get the whole blinking in and out thing, but that makes sense that it would be Thanos. But I will say this, that if Thanos were to suddenly snap his fingers and take out however many of the population, think how easy the traffic would be in and out of Los Angeles.
It was such a sad scene when he snapped his fingers and people started disappearing, and half the half the Avengers were disappearing, and I think I was in tears practically when Spider-Man, because he's the young boy and he starts to disappear, and it's just like we had by the time I got to those end movies, I had the whole fam. Everybody was in the room at that point watching them with me. I had everybody, and we were eating popcorn out on the back porch watching these movies. And it was great fun. They did a good build-up job. And Wanda becomes a pretty big player towards the end. But you have to watch Wakanda. You have to watch the there's so many of them, and some of them are standalone, but they all weave together in the end. That's what's great. You can watch a standalone movie and think, oh, this is nothing. No, it does have something to do with it. There's little things all over the place.
It's a soap opera.
It kind of is with monsters in outer space and a couple of gods and all kinds of things. I mean, come on, it's fun.
And witches.
And now witches.
Yeah, witches.
You've got spacemen. You've got gods. We've got guys in really cool outfits. So, yeah, it's very good.
Ms. Marvel is all about the djinn, says our producer Rob. I did not know that.
You're talking about Captain Marvel? I'm not sure. I didn't know about that.
I don't know it. I don't follow the Marvel world, but our producer Rob says Ms. Marvel is all about the djinn. And that's DJINN, not GIN.
I have a question. Again, I'm not this person. Is the new one that's coming out, the Agatha one, is that going to be another TV series or a movie?
That is going to be another TV series, according to our producer, Rob. I had not looked that up yet.
I read the article he sent me an article because I said I love Agatha, so he immediately sent me an article about it, and it said that it was going to be like season 2 of WandaVision, where they were envisioning like WandaVision being like American Horror Story and having their own standalone chapters that sort of intertwine with each other. So here's hoping. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of American Horror Story, the guy who played the brother, what was his name?
Oh, Evan Peters. What a nice surprise that was. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Right?
I love Evan Peters.
Evan Peters plays the brother, and
Big
she
brother.
says, "But why do you look different?" Yes, well, where's your accent? Oh, okay. And then she starts to sort of second guess herself and gaslight herself of, well, it has been a long time. Okay, maybe this is what my brother really looks like.
But we get gaslit too as the audience, because when the I forget her name is watching the TV show from, you know, outside the thought bubble, she says, "Oh my gosh, she rewrote her brother." So we're up, just that's what happened, and that's fine, and we're fine with that. And then she's like, "Oh, this weird thing is happening where I don't know who this is," and you know, whatever. Oh well, you rewrote him. Like, that's, we know more things than you do because we're outside the thought bubble. Like, and but like that's all of the emotions that they made happen. It was crazy.
Well, it's fun too if you're not. I'm not a comic book person at all, but knowing, I'm sure some of the Marvel comic book fans really enjoyed this too, because you have nods to the old costumes that were comic book costumes, like when he's in the green and yellow thing, and he says, "What, you look like a booger" or something like that. That is his costume. That's Vision's comic book costume, if I'm understanding it correctly. And then Quicksilver. Someone put up Quicksilver. That's the brother with the comic book costume for Quicksilver, and then hers, of course, the red. This outfit, she never wears this outfit. She doesn't wear this outfit, I don't think, in the movies, or some version of it maybe. But this is her comic book. That's her comic book costume. So the one she wore. So it's kind of cool. They're doing these nods to their own self-reflexive nods, as well as ones to the movies that are part of the story, and then of course the ones to TV shows. I was so excited about the Brady Bunch one, by the way.
It was kind of amazing. I have to admit, it was kind of amazing.
And the stairs were perfect. I mean, you see those stairs, you're like, Brady Bunch.
I thought, I'm again, even not understanding the Marvel and the whole storyline, it was beautiful filmmaking, television making, the sets, the costumes, the detail, insane detail about everything. That kept me entertained in itself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did a great job. They did their homework, their movie, obviously TV aficionados. They knew exactly. I mean, even the songs and the intros were like perfect. I mean, the intro to the one with The Office, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's The Office opening.
Yeah.
Could that be any more perfect? They knew what they were doing. Brilliant TV making right there. Filmmaking. Mm-hmm.
Can I just, Haley Castellano says, "Courtney, you need to watch Coven so that we can review it." I've seen Coven multiple times. I have thought.
We'll get there.
Yeah, it's on the
list. I don't think I've seen Coven.
American Horror Story?
Oh, yeah. I have. I did see that one. Mm-hmm. Never mind.
I've seen all seasons of American Horror Story, and I have thoughts about all of them.
And quotes. Do you have quotes from this one?
I don't have quotes from this one. I feel like because I was too busy trying to figure it out in my brain that I wasn't paying close attention, and it, like, to quotes, and nothing like struck me. But then halfway through, I was like, oh no, I haven't written down any quotes. And then at that point I was like, well, and then I got sucked into it, and I was like, well, I'm not paying, nothing else exists outside of this. Is my thought bubble, so nothing else exists outside of this. And that was that. So I have no quotes, sorry. Not this time.
Okay. Well, I guess we are getting close. So now this is going to be a tough one for me. We're going to vote on this. Wands up, wands down on WandaVision.
You can't vote.
I got no wand.
Wait.
Oh wait, I got 2 wands. You want?
Well, can I cast a vote even though I haven't seen it?
Sure.
You're a witch. You can cast it.
From our description. Yeah. You can vote on our description.
I don't feel bad because I'm on the show all the time, and I sometimes either watch the wrong movie or show up without having seen the movie. So you're fine.
Okay, WandaVision, the entire series, or whichever one you're part of it. And you guys out there, we want you wands up, wands down. What's our wanding?
Wands up. Is that a slightly tilted one?
Listen, let me explain myself. I did love it. However, I do wish that I had known more things about the Marvel Universe. I feel like it would have been mind-blowing if I had known more about the Marvel Universe. It was great, but I feel like I missed a lot because I hadn't seen it.
Get back to watching the movies.
Yeah, I will, because I did love it, but I feel like it would have been blown off the charts if I knew what was going on.
But that gives you something to look forward to.
Yep.
Like, you'll be able to go back to this time and time again and get new layers. It's like peeling an onion.
Yeah,
You'll
true.
cry every time, but with more depth.
and the thing is too is that I struggle with watching the Marvel movies because I'm not a huge superhero fan, so sometimes it feels like a chore to like force myself to watch the next one. But now I liked this enough that it's gonna make me want to watch them to understand this. So I feel like
I'm with you on that one as far as superheroes. I don't typically like superheroes because they're often very one-dimensional and they're very boring. I'm good because I'm good. I really like the bad guys. Wanda, I think, though, I like Wanda. She's both, and I think that is much more human. And as a witch, I think it's much more human.
Yeah. So I'm completely wands up. I don't care that I didn't understand it. I was equally entertained. So, and it's like a new show every hour. Okay. So I like that aspect of it. Everybody out there, some of you are voting. Haley's up and down, so that's a mixed one. Neutral. Robert went to neutral. We got a side.
Well, I think someone noticed, they said they didn't watch it because they had problems on Netflix. It's actually on Disney too, and I don't know about Netflix because I went to Disney because I get Disney through my cell phone service or whatever. We get it, so I have the Disney, and so it's there as well. So if you can get it through Netflix, you can get it through. I think there's a couple streaming services that might have it. I don't know.
I did Disney.
I thought it was the Disney Plus original, so I feel like is it?
Oh, maybe it is.
I don't think
maybe
it's on
it is.
anything else.
Okay, so it's Disney, yeah.
I would like to give a wands directly up to Agnes's theme song.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. It was like
that one.
It was very much an Addams Family theme song, wasn't it? If I remember.
It was Agnes all along.
Yeah, it was Agnes all along.
Our producer Rob wants to know if this could become a musical. Heather?
Oh. I hope not.
Yeah.
I love musicals, but I'm so scared when the producers and filmmakers decide to start switching the medium or the storytelling type. It doesn't always work really well, and I get really nervous. So I'm like, let's leave this one not as a musical, please.
It would not work.
Would it work like in a Buffy thing where there's like one episode that's like an epic musical episode?
One episode, maybe.
That might be okay. Yeah.
One episode, like Lucifer or Buffy. Yes, one episode. Yeah. One.
Yeah.
One.
As long as they sing Agnes's theme song, I'll buy tickets. So.
They could do it. You know, there was a lot of musical sitcoms in if that's the direction it's going to continue going with the sitcom thing. I mean, they had the Partridge Family. The Brady Bunch certainly had musical episodes. So there's plenty of sitcoms out there that had musicals. One episode. I'm with Richard-Lael. One.
Two.
No. Patti, I love a good musical more than anyone or as much as anyone.
And superheroes can't have musicals too? I don't know. I will turn anything into a musical if they do it well. But all right, 1.5 or all right. Well, since we have let's move into, we've got mixed, but more leaning towards up and a couple S. So everybody, let's meet Dodie. We didn't really get to meet Dodie, and everybody talk about what's going on. So Heather, introduce your lovely friend there.
Well, I am going to let Dodie do all the talking, but this is my lovely friend Dodie, and she is down here for Mystic South, which begins, it begins Friday, but we're headed down tomorrow, and we are going to be at a 3-day, I've been talking about it here, mentioning it here, a 3-day conference for witches and pagans and other magical folk. 3 days of classes and entertainment. And so she's come all the way from Canada to attend, and she comes a little early, and we
get our nails done, okay?
We relax before the big show. So I'll let her talk. She is a witch and a filmmaker, and so that's
Yeah, no, I love coming down here for Mystic South. I think I've only missed like one of them.
Yeah.
So I travel down from Winnipeg, Canada. That makes me a Winnipegan. And I'll be speaking at Mystic South as well, and probably talking a bit about my book, Earth Magic. And yeah, having a great time eating too much chicken salad in Atlanta. It's awesome, and it's hot, and it's wonderful, and I love the cicadas and the beautiful lush green trees. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, thank you. And so that's what you guys both have going on, right? Mystic South. So
Yep, Mystic South is taking over our world for the next 4 days.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. We're going to get to do stuff. I actually am on the board, so I help run the thing. So if anybody that is listening is going to come to Mystic South, please come to Mystic South if you're in the area. And make sure you stop and say hi and mention that you listen to the Witches Movie Coven. So I know that would be so wonderful. So that's what we've got going on.
beautiful. Thank you. Did you get the postcard yet?
I did.
Yay. Okay, good.
we will all be well represented there.
Yay. Okay, thanks. Courtney.
That's me. I don't have anything going on. I am, like I said last time, just enjoying having summer off. Unfortunately, I did talk last week that I was planning a trip to LA. That has changed. So that's put on hold for now, but it will be rescheduled in the future. But yeah, other than that, I am just kicking back and enjoying a summer break from school, hanging out with my kid. WandaVision I'm really glad that, I saved series for summer because we really got to spend some good quality time together watching it. So that was really fun. And that's what I'm looking forward to is what we're doing next.
Beautiful.
And just relaxing. So.
Thank you. Richard-Lael.
Well, I will be in Atlanta on the 2nd of September, where I will meet Ms. Heather Greene, but it's actually for the debauchery ball. Get your tickets now. You want to make certain that you have those. I will be in Youngstown, Ohio, the end of October. And I also have some news about New Orleans, but that's going to be announced another time. But get your tickets there. Make certain that you do. It's going to be a lot of fun, burlesque and dancing and a live band. Also on, this is mysterycontrol.com. You can find some of my t-shirts that I have painted pictures or have had painted of me. And this is actually, I'm going to open up that pillow. I bought one. And you can see Ms. Courtney is holding up hers.
I've been holding it the
I
whole
bought
time.
one. I want to see what it looks like. I've not seen them in person. So I am going to show you a big reveal right now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you know what? It's really good quality. I was not expecting
Oh.
Who is that handsome devil?
Hey, I know him.
Here.
That was beautiful. Wait a second. We're doing show and tell. Okay.
And you can also find me at universitymagicus.com, the real life Harry Potter, which of course Patti knows that because Patti is the CEO and founder, and she also teaches there. Real magic.
Real magic at University Magicus or magicu.org. So join us. He teaches beautiful classes. I teach classes. Come learn witchcraft and all sorts of other wonderful, weird, and wacky things. So thank you. I am in town, and for anybody in the LA area, Saturday night, my dog is racing at Los Alamitos Racecourse. She is vying to be the fastest wiener in the West. If she doesn't go the wrong way, she has a chance of being the West wiener, but she's probably going to go the wrong way and stay the wrong way, Willow. And Sunday, with my friend Linda the Ghost Hunter and I, we are going to be the first ever in history to do a ghost hunt and a seance at the very haunted, very historic Women's Club of Hollywood. It's over 100-year-old. All the stars used to go. They have Charlie Chaplin's piano right there. It's super haunted because Linda's been taking she's the tech girl, all this stuff around. So That's Sunday. We have a few tickets left. It's, again, first time ever in 100-year-old. It was everything a haunted house needs to be, a haunted building, a big building. It was the very first school ever in Hollywood. It's burned down a couple times, all the right things for haunted. And then I'm here for the rest of the month. August, I will be headed to Hex Fest in New Orleans, teaching 3 classes and a panel. Then I'm headed to Michigan Paracon. I will be there. September, I've got a couple things now. Massachusetts Paracon, and I just added a thing in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Whole witchy weekend in Albuquerque, which I've never been. And then it goes insane. All hell breaks loose September, October, November, and December. So if you want to know where I am, just go to pattinegri.com and figure it out. And let's go back to Mystic Control, because yes, you need pillows. Yes, you need t-shirts like Courtney and pillows, but you need power panties.
Yay!
Magical underwear. Boys and girls, a spell in every pair, sigils and symbols and magical things in every style of underpants. Change your underwear, change your life. mysterycontrol.com and code Patti, Patti, and you can get 25% off all of this. Yes, Richard-Lael's pillows. Yes, Courtney's t-shirts. Yes, Witches Movie Coven blankies and wraps and cups and mugs. Pride underwear. Yes. Yes.
You know what else I noticed on there today when I was shopping, and I shouldn't have been shopping, but I was, is that we also have Black Phillips socks on there. Socks with little Black Phillips on them. So again, I'm going to be placing another order.
You can do your entire wardrobe at mysterycontrol.com, and you can have your 25% off at mysterycontrol.com. This is our best pitch ever. Oh, look at and you guys, sigils, symbols, everyone comes with a spell. You got this. Anyway, we are getting close. We don't know what we're doing next week yet, do we? Poor Jason. He's lost in the
he said producer Rob did suggest what let me just I can't remember. Oh, something
wicked this way comes.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think I'm all for it. I think so. We'll do that. Why not?
Okay.
Yes.
So everybody out there, watch Something Wicked This Way Comes, and let's talk about it. We want your input. Maybe I'll understand it. Maybe I won't.
It's not part of the Marvel universe. Don't worry.
we may need to check to see where that's streaming, because I don't know.
Do we know where it's streaming?
It is a Disney movie. It's a Disney. I'm pretty sure it's a Disney movie, so it's probably on Disney Plus again. I would guess.
Okay. We're looking.
I'm going to look right now.
Okay. It's a great flick. Well, Lisa Wonderful likes it. That is good. I probably haven't seen it because I just don't watch much television and movies for being in this coven. But I watch all the ones we're supposed to.
There it is.
It is not on Disney Plus.
Uh-oh. We don't know. Are we sure we can do it? It must be somewhere.
Well, we'll try. And if it has to change, we'll change it.
Okay. But for now, if we could all find it somewhere online, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Come back next week and we will do that or something others. It takes patience, but it's good. That's what she said. Okay. I know patience. She's good. She's nice. So we're like a minute ahead of time. Does that mean we have to do this for a whole minute?
No, I don't know if we can.
I mean, we could try.
Yeah, guys, I'm not seeing it streaming anywhere. I just looked a bunch of places,
no.
So I don't know if that is going to work.
Okay, if we can't do Something Wicked This Way Comes, do we have a second choice?
We'll have to talk about it.
All right.
And come up, because that was it.
That was it.
You know, and it may
We
be
have a list of like 500 movies long.
a lot of the movies, a lot of these Halloween and not Halloween, a lot of these witch movies come to streaming around October, September. So we may, if we can't do it now, we can do it around then, because most likely it will come back. And
Okay.
you know, we just struggle with that. So
Can we just look at Lisa there in the comments for telling us to cackle for a minute?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
what are you trying to do to us? Lisa, what are you trying to do to us?
Okay, there. So there's one last thing to do, witches. Here we go. But Lisa, you have to do it.
You have to, yeah.
Everybody out there has to cackle. I don't care where you are. If you're sitting at Starbucks, you have to do it. Okay.
And we'll know because we're witches.